Hellmaster EX. This award-winning system features the first single-engine joystick with digital electric steering and new autopilot capability. See Hellmaster EX in action at a Yamaha Outboard dealer or visit YamahaOutboards.com.
Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's October 17th. These are your headlines. Tog fishing is really taking center stage right now across southern New England. Seeing a lot of striped bass moving up into the estuaries right now, and even a few piles of weakfish out there. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before we begin, we've got a few news items for you guys. The first one is just a reminder that the ASMFC will be meeting next week down in Maryland. They're going to be covering a whole bunch of different topics, but the one that I think most of us will be interested in is the striped bass stock assessment. Most viewers probably know that the ASMFC set a goal back in 2019 to rebuild the striped bass stock by 2029. It's not looking good right now. We're halfway there. The young of the year numbers are way down. And it looks like the ASMFC may be considering some drastic measures. One of them could be a harvest moratorium, which means you could fish for striped bass, but you couldn't keep them. As you can guess, this is a hot button issue that is very divisive. And you know, no matter what side of the issue you stand on, right now would be a good time to have your voice heard. So you may want to send some emails to the powers that be down at the ASMFC, maybe your local state representative, maybe some of the big wigs down there, but suffice it to say, I just want to remind you guys that this was going on and that, you know, looking forward into 2025, we may see some major changes in the striped bass regulations, so keep your ear to the ground on that. Next thing, I want to talk about salmon stocking in Connecticut. Connecticut has been stocking the salmon over the last few weeks, and they've done something new this year. On the ones that they're putting into the Naugatuck and the Shetucket rivers, they are adding a little orange streamer tag. That streamer tag has a phone number on it. It also has a 4-digit identification code. And what they're asking is anglers that catch a salmon to record that little identification code, whether you write it down, if you've got a pen and paper with you by chance, or if you could take a picture with your phone, or if you have a geodetic memory, maybe you just think about it for a minute and never forget it again. But in any case, call the number or go online and go through the process of submitting the fish, because it's going to help these guys figure out some things about these fish: how long they stay in the river system, how long they survive, their health, how far they spread out from where they're stocked. They're going to be looking for information regarding where it was caught, how big it was, and believe it or not, they even want GPS coordinates. If you can provide that, you can go through the portal or go through the phone number, submit those numbers, and you're going to be doing them a big favor. Next up, we're going to check in with Jenni Ackerman. Here's her latest installment of Open Boat.
I see a bad moon rising, but is it though? Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. I would have broken out in song there, but I don't think my neighbors would appreciate that. But what I'm referencing is, if you're watching this Open Boat on Thursday, we have a full moon. Right now I'm looking at it and it's in the waxing gibbous phase. So the full moon, for a lot of fishermen, a lot of guys don't fish the full moon, they just don't like it in general. I don't know if it's because they are afraid of werewolves, but when it comes to my fishing schedule, if I have a day off and it happens to fall on a full moon, I'm gonna maybe go. There's a 99.9% chance I'm gonna go anyway. I don't like little factors dissuading me, but like the main factor for not fishing a full moon is if it's a crystal clear night. The full moon is so darn bright that it kind of dissuades a fish from biting at night. But if it's an overcast, cloudy night and a full moon, I'm gonna go. Because the full moon brings other good factors that can help turn on a striper bite, especially during the fall run. Starting off with stronger currents. A moon tide can create strong, ripping, increased current, and it makes the stripers feed more actively. And even during the day too. One of the big things when you have a full moon coming up, you have the best fishing 3 days before that full moon and 3 days after the full moon. So if you're watching this on Thursday, go out and fish after the video. And if you're still watching it on Sunday when it airs solo, you still have a chance to get some good fish, so go out anyway. But going back to the factors that create a good full moon bite, you have deeper water. Moon tides with high tide usually increase. So the incoming tide can cover ground that isn't usually covered by a normal incoming tide. The moon, with science and everything, the moon increases everything. A sad factor to it to reflect on is when we had Hurricane Sandy. We had a supermoon during that time, and that just made everything 10 times worse. But going back to it on fishing terms, it can make things better because it's pushing in water where it usually doesn't reach. So that gives more real estate, like in a trough, for bait fish to flow in and for the stripers to give chase. And of course, the moons create bigger tides and lots of moving water that can churn up the bottom and make bait come up and disorient the bait. And of course, stripers are ambush predators, so it can really turn on a bite quite quickly. And then during the low tide for these full moon fishing phases, they can concentrate bait into smaller channels if you're flats fishing. So the stripers will know to go to these areas and search out the bait during low tide. So if you're back bay fishing on the flats and stuff and you find smaller pools in the channels and everything, try fishing that too, because you might get some stripers that are hanging out back there waiting to ambush some bait. So there's the great debate of fishing a moon tide, specifically a full moon, and why not give it a shot tonight? Try to fish tonight since you have a full moon, giving whatever conditions you have, give it a shot. Fish tomorrow morning too, and the next day, and the day after that. Like I said, these are all good patterns for fishing with the moon phases. There's so many factors that go into fishing between the moon and the tides and the wind and everything like that. So there's a science behind it. So it's good to study these things. But my one tip to you is with headlamps at night, try to get headlamps that have a red light. So this one, which literally just popped off of the headband, we'll include that. We're not gonna cut that like a blooper. So this one, immediately when it turns on, see how blinding that is? That sucks for fishing. That's kind of like the moon. So what I'm doing here with my hand is I'm just covering it. I naturally do that when I put it on my head to go to the red light. See how much better that is? It's not even that bad. So the comparison between those two lights, you go from blinding, which one, can scare off fish, two, tick off other fishermen that are fishing at night, and that's how they find you. They're gonna find you and they're gonna yell at you. And three, it's just annoying. Like, it's way too bright. And when you're fishing in the dark for hours, like, your eyes will naturally adjust to the darkness. So having that blinding light come on, you're basically blind again. And so that's why I try to shop for a light that has a red light. And if you wanna get fancier, it has a green light. But I never use that. I always have it on the red light. Like I said, I will literally cup my hand like this. I mean, that's my hand covered. That's really bright. Like, and then compared to the red, much better. So always use a red light at night. Never use the regular LED light because you're going to screw everything up. The fishing, the people around you fishing, and your eyeballs. So hopefully the full moon and this October season gives you a lot of treats and not a lot of tricks. And I'll see you guys on next week's Open Boat. Best of luck.
And now we'll talk about the giveaway, which we've got 2 weeks left. This is going to wrap up on October 30th. And as you guys know, it's pretty simple stuff. It's just got to be a well-composed photo of you holding your fish. It has to be recently caught. Outside of that, doesn't matter to me if it was caught on vacation or in your backyard. And you know, the photos have started to slow down a little bit. I have one in mind that I think might be the winner, but that doesn't mean somebody can't upstage that photo. And one thing I've noticed, excuse me, not seeing a lot of blackfish photos, which is surprising. And I love blackfish photos. So make sure you send those in to me. Get them into danderson@thefisherman.com or text them to the number on the screen. And someone's going to win this pretty cool glide bait that I made. So get those in and we'll see who wins. Moving over to the reports now, we've got the fall run starting to wind down a little bit up in Maine, but we are still seeing striped bass coming out of there. We've just gotten a lot smaller over the last week. We've gone from, a few slot fish still around to schoolies for miles. They're still they're still seeing some bluefish though, which is pretty exciting and pretty surprising given the date. So that's going to continue down through New Hampshire, and then as we cross over the border into Massachusetts, we'll check in with James Jewkes.
Morning, Dave. Everyone. Catching a beautiful sunrise this morning. Well, there's some clouds out there, but it's going to be a fantastic day up here. Nice calm surf. Little bit of mung and weeds up here, not too bad. Still fish around. Talked to a few guys north of here. They had some fish. Talked to another guy. He was over just south of Gloucester a little bit. Had a nice 42-inch fish. So there's some fish around. A couple of club members. And Brad had a nice fish. He was on the island, I think, the other night, Monday night, Tuesday night, one of those nights. I can't remember. I'm like delirious here, but yeah, so everybody should be getting out and checking out this last full moon of the season up here on Plum Island. I don't think we'll have any fish around the next full moon, but this full moon and next new moon, we should still be seeing some fish. Put your time in, get out there. Freshwater guys, they're doing okay too. We got the trout really going strong. And all the other usual species are available. But yeah, time is running short on stripers, that's for sure. You may even find a bluefish or two mixed in. I know some guys south of here that found a few the other day. They were a little towards Boston Harbor, but they're out there. So just get out there, get it done. There's still fish around. Night tides are still the right tide. That's it from here, Dave.
Drop it down into Boston Harbor now. Danny Parma has had a very busy week and was not able to shoot a video for us, but he did text me a couple of details. He said that the surf guys have been doing really well from Rockport down to Nahant, and seeing fish up to the 40-inch mark, and doing really well with live eels, big soft plastics, and needlefish. So that's one thing you can concentrate on. Getting down into Boston Harbor, the striped bass schools have been a little bit more spread out lately, but they are there for the guys that don't mind hunting for them. Most of these fish are closer to the slot size, but there are some bigger fish in the area as well. Jumping out of Boston Harbor down the South Shore, we're kind of at the valley right now. We're kind of in between waves. A lot more smaller fish along that stretch, not a lot of big ones. And that extends from Situate all the way down to the canal and then crosses the canal and continues along the bayside beaches of the Cape. If you do want to go out in that area and you want to look for some bigger fish, there are some tricks to it. The best advice I can give you is to go and fish any one of these inlet mouths. You can do Ellisville, you can do Sandwich Creek, you can do Scorton Creek, you can do any one of the little feeder creeks that are further out on the Cape. You could also count the canal as one of those inlets that's sort of spilling out into into Cape Cod Bay. That's a good way to find concentrated striped bass at this time of the year. Right now, the bite's been a little bit slow, but I think we'll see it fire up again before too long. Going around the end of the Cape, the outer beaches have started to pick up a little bit again. And I think some of those fish that were populating the bayside beaches have now made it to the outer beaches. And we're seeing those fish showing up in the beach catches right now. Also, boaters off the beaches there are finding some fish. They're finding them vertical jigging. They're finding them throw some top water. And there's even been some guys that have braved it, heading out for tuna and found some busting fish out there. So the tuna are still around, just not as many guys going out looking for them. Getting down more toward Nantucket, I think we're getting to the point where we might be singing the swan song for albies. There are still some fish around. Most of them seem to be, out. They're out in the middle of Nantucket Sound. They're out past Nantucket. Not a lot of fish in close anymore. No fish that I've heard about in the Elizabeths for a week now. So that bite is winding down, and I think we'll call 2024 a pretty sad year as far as numbers go, but there were some really big albies to be caught. Still a few bonito around, still some bluefish around, and there's been some small bluefish along the Nantucket Sound beaches, along with some small stripers, but those fish seem to be constantly on the move. They're hard to nail down. Good togging on the north side of the vineyard and all along the Elizabeth. And then as we get up closer to the canal, striped bass fishing has been pretty good in the canal. We've seen a lot of smaller bait, and it's kept the bite going for a couple weeks now. And with the breaking tides kind of starting up today, I think we're going to see another push of fish come through the ditch over these next couple of days. So overall, the canal's looking good. And for a little bit more on that, let's check in with East End Eddie.
Hi Dave, another great fall day here on the world famous Cape Con Canal, as long as the rain holds off. And we've got a east slack tide behind me. It's going to turn west soon, also known as the migration tide. And fishing's been good. There's a lot of bait still in the canals, silver sides and different rain bait. So recently, some of the guys who have done well are Jumpin' Joe England, Mashpee Mike Larea, Tim Hollywood Petrarca, Bill on the Grill Prados, Bob Freshy Aqua Fresca, Eli Winslow did well. He was fishing next to me, and the next day I went back to the same spot and caught a nice fish. And Westport Jim Almeida caught a mess of fish pretty far out in the canal. But of all those guys, the guy who caught the biggest fish was Bloodhound Steve Colleran, who caught a bunch of stripers, including a 40-inch. So congratulations to those guys. So Everyday Al Mazzico caught a 76-inch sturgeon the other day. This is a prehistoric looking monster. It doesn't even have scales. It has plates. So what a fish. Congratulations to Al. You know, I think now Everyday Al qualifies to star in the next Jurassic Park movie. So, Matt McNeil, a nice 16-year-old kid from Norwalk, caught a 48-pound striped bass. And he was using a Green Mac fish lab. And he fought this fish for over 15 minutes and finally brought it in. And even though he had his drag set tight, this fish was taking line left and right and just moving through the water with that sound, zzz, zzz, and the drag that we all love to hear. And so that fish, 48-pound fish, measured out to 50 inches. And Matt's a great kid. He's a defenseman on the hockey team for Tri-County in Franklin. And so I'm happy for Matt. That's terrific. So my tip of the week is that, you know, sometimes surface plugs, including a guppy jobo, come with a protective piece of plastic on the tip of the hook, a little tube. And so when you take that off, if you pull it straight down, the barb will hook into the plastic. So what you should do is turn it with your fingers as you're pulling it down, and that will take it off freely. So until next time, catch a big one.
Then heading out of the canal, heading west, the estuaries are still packed with striped bass. Most of these fish are around the slot or a little bit smaller, but there are a few bigger fish in there. Lots of bait up inside these estuaries. We're seeing a lot of good-sized peanut bunker, like those, 3 to 5 inch peanuts, which have the power to draw in really any size striped bass. So get up in there, throw your little top waters in the daytime, throw your paddle tails, and then after dark, fish a little bit bigger stuff. Fish some bigger swimmers, fish a mag darter, fish a super snacks or something like that. And good chance you're going to find some fish. And if you don't mind hopping around a little bit, you might find some bigger ones. Out front, we're seeing a lot of great blackfishing going on right now in Buzzards Bay. There's good numbers of sea bass, which all have to be thrown back, but you're definitely going to have some sea bass bycatch. And there's been a few weak fish still around out in that area as well. And that's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. Crossing over into Rhode Island, let's start things off with an East Bay report from TJ Kopecky.
Thanks, Dave. Hey, guys. Really nice to be back. And a big shout out to all you guys who reached out to me over the last week and a half or so. I'm feeling good now. I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things. And I should be able to get back out fishing this weekend, which I'm going to do. So I got some good reports of some good tog fishing up inside the Warren River behind the American Tourist Distill. There's a ton of shorts, so just don't be discouraged about it. There are some keeper fish in there, and my friend Adam's been fishing there with his son and a couple of times during the week when the crowds are a little bit smaller, and they've been doing well. They'll get 2 or 3 keepers out of maybe 25, 30 shorts, and they've mainly been fishing that 1 hour before high tide into the slack, and right through about another hour or so on the outgoing tide. So it's not just behind the tourist, underneath the bridge. If you can get up on top of the car bridge, that's also working along the pilings there too. And if you move over to the Barrington side of the Barrington River, Matheson Street has been really good there, casting into the rock piles and some of the dock pilings. It's holding some nice tog there also. There's also some striped bass in the mix there. Lots of small fish, and you got to work hard to get something that's in the decent 25 to 26 inch size. There's a lot of little diaper stripers, which are fun to catch, and it's a sign of good things that are happening. There's a ton of bait inside the Barrington River, up into 100 Acre Cove still, that probably has to get out of that river. So, to feed all these hungry bass that are really going to start coming in to these river mouths and where the bends are to ambush all that bait up inside the East Bay. Barrington Beach still has bluefish on it. It's not for the shore fishermen, can't get them by shore. Mainly it's been off of Rumstick Rock and more towards Nayet Point. There's blues just kind of hanging out in that 15 to 19 feet of water. So I'm still waiting to hear some good reports. I'm actually going to get down there myself just to go check it out and see early tomorrow morning. So best bets are stick with the rivers. There are some small fish, but you might get a keeper here and there in the East Bay area. So we'll check back with you guys next week. Tight lines.
We also had the Rhode Island Tog Classic over the weekend, which was won by a 12.12 pounder. For a wrap up on that, let's toss it over now to Ralph Kraft from Crafty Custom Rods. Here he is.
Hello everyone, we are recovering from the Tog Classic. Really appreciate everyone just coming out. It was a huge success. I want to thank Fran and Angler Catch for taking over and doing everything. We're going to be posting all the winners and all the information. Really would like to thank all the volunteers that really helped make it go off. And also Ride the Vibe, the band, they were awesome. Jigging World, Minn Kota, Hummingbird, Max Essery with East Coast Construction, and Bill Sales. They volunteered some vehicles to have stuff go down. It was great though. It was a great weekend. The weather was good.
It really was. It really was. I also wanted to thank the Rhode Island DEM fisheries for coming out and helping out, and also I had a representative from the ASMFC here who was taking the gills off of the fish and was letting people know he was going to go back, test them out, and kind of give them an idea of how old their fish were. So I thought that was pretty cool too. Yeah,
for a day it was pretty crazy because the biggest fish was 12, which we expected bigger, especially for a boat. But we got a kayaker that pulled out a 10-pounder, so that was super cool. The kids were stoked. The kids all did great. That was awesome to see. It was another successful year. I mean, we're just, like I said, it's just like having not a physical hangover, but just you're mentally and physically exhausted, and we're trying to get everything closed out. The raffles went awesome. And everyone that donated raffles. I
can't thank you guys enough, really, for the donations and everything else. It was fantastic.
Yeah. So it was the best weather we've ever had for the tournament, so that was really cool. So we really do appreciate everyone that came out and did it. We'd look to see you again next year. And obviously thanks to the guys at Fisherman Magazine, because you've been there with us the whole time. So thank you very much for your support and your efforts.
And lastly, thanks for the crew here over at the place.
At the Portuguese Club, the guys, the food was awesome.
They really did a great job.
The crew here came together to help us get everything done, and we'll see you next year.
Can't thank them enough.
All right, cheers.
Thanks everyone.
Appreciate it.
Togging has really been the main focus for most Rhode Island anglers. The fishing's been really good. We've had some crossover with some big black sea bass coming up in some of those deeper spots. Most of these fish are between like 10 and 50 feet of water. One thing though, we aren't seeing as many big fish as we were at this time of the year last year. So we're seeing plenty of keepers up to like 6 or 7 pounds, but the big ones have been a little bit harder to come by. Hopefully they're just out a little bit deeper, and we'll start seeing more of those in the coming weeks. For a little bit more on that, let's toss it over now to Jeff Sullivan. Here he is.
What's up, Dave? What's going on, guys? It's Jeff back with a weekly video. This week was a very busy week on the tog front. We've been tog fishing around the clock every day. We had the Crafty One Tog Classic this week, which was a huge success. I want to thank Ralph Kraft for everything he does in our fishing community. Fran did a great job sponsoring the thing with Angler's Catch. I actually sat down with them after the Tog Classic, and they wanted to give you guys a huge thank you and for coming out and participating in this tournament. It's a huge fundraiser. It's a very, very successful tournament. You know, I do it every year. I love it. And Ralph is just a stand-up comic guy. He loves to laugh. He loves to have fun. He's all about the people in our community. Loves to help out everyone he can. So, you know, next time you see him, thank him. And yeah, as for the tautog fishing in general as a whole right now, I mean, it's just going to get better and better by the week. And Dave, you can't complain about that. As for us, how we did in the tournament, we did good. I think, you know, we got all you wanted keepers. We just could not find the big one that we were hoping for, but that will come in due time. But the full moon's always a good moon. This time of year, I always look forward to it because the big tog come home, as I like to say. And, you know, there's still a lot of tautog fishing to do. You know, as for that, oh, and another thing I want to mention is there's a lot of youth this year in this tournament, which is awesome to see. Get the kids involved, get the kids in our fishery, get them out, pick up a fishing rod, go fishing, go explore, you know, get out your video game world and go out there and catch some nice fish. You know, that's what it's about. Get the kids involved, get them out there and exploring. I mean, we had kayak anglers, charter boat captains, guys from all over the country meeting at this Tog Classic. So it was a big event, very successful event, and I had a blast. Dave, I'm going to sit down with Ralph Kraft right now and Fran from Angler's Catch, and I'm going to have them close it out. All right, guys, see you next week.
Now, the best togging has definitely been from Point Judith east. So like Point Judith to the Massachusetts border. Doesn't mean guys aren't getting them other places. We're hearing about fish out around Watch Hill, off the wrecks off the South County beaches, and even out around Block Island. But that eastern half of the state has really been putting out the best fish and the best numbers as well. Getting out toward Block, we are still seeing striped bass on the ledge. Surf guys have been struggling out there. And there's some sea bass and some codfish to be had. Also some tuna still south of the island. For a little bit more on all that, let's toss it over now to Captain John Lee from JL Charters.
Hey, it's John Lee, JL Charters, Point Judith, Rhode Island. This week I've had, I think, 3 blackfish trips. One of them was up the bay a little ways. We were fishing in very shallow water, 13, 14 feet of water. Got them going on the jig. Then I've had a couple closer to home on the hook in deeper water, and we've been getting them every time. Some of the trips you gotta set up, and then you gotta get the fish coming to you. And I've been using a lot of spider crabs, green crabs, single hook rigs. Some people like the jigs. In my experience, where I fish out in the deep, that single hook rig does pretty darn well. We've had, I think, 2 fish in the double digits, and a lot of small keepers. But it's been pretty good. I haven't been shut out or disappointed yet. I've been disappointed during peak tides. My best fishing has come either side of peak, and that's it. We've had a lot of wind, so I got to figure the wind and the current into where I anchor. You don't want to get into the situation, for those of us who do anchor, where the wind's going east and the current is opposite that, and you lay in the trough. Boom. And my customers definitely don't like that. I don't like it, but I can tolerate it more than they can tolerate it. But anyway, I try to have the conditions line up. Have a good one. Get out there and start fishing.
Battle 4.
And then going up along the South County beaches, this is the classic area, you know, this is the classic fall run spot. Everybody, you know, when you can drive on the beach, you know, guys that got the pass, they're driving the beaches. Guys are lot hopping, you know, going from Matunic all the way out to Musquamacut, looking for stripers. They're finding schools of fish. They're finding big balls of bait. They're finding diving birds. It's a great time of year. The bite has been good. It has not been dynamite just yet, but I think we're going to see that lining up in the coming weeks. The breachways have been pretty good, especially after dark, guys throwing plugs, guys drifting eels. And the rocky points have been really good for the guys throwing live eels and big soft plastics. And that's what I have for you guys at Rhode Island this week. Crossing over into Connecticut, a lot of the striped bass focus has been along the eastern shore. So from the Connecticut River to the Rhode Island border, the Thames River has been really good. Guys have been finding all sizes of fish up inside the river, up to like 40 inches with, I'd say a bullseye on like right around 30 inches, give or take an inch or two there. Guys are doing well outside the river as well, finding good striped bass all along that stretch, getting up toward Niantic Bay, where the action has also been very good. Togging is definitely very, very popular along that stretch as well. Same thing as Rhode Island. A lot of these fish are shallow. You can get them in 5 feet of water. So the shore guys are scoring well. The boat guys are doing well on all the reefs, all the wrecks. And as we get up closer to the Connecticut River, you're starting to find some bigger striped bass in that area. We're starting to see some fish maybe getting up over 30 pounds. For a little bit more on that, let's check in now with Captain Mike Roy from Real Cast Charters.
Hey, what's up everybody? For this week's fishing forecast, we're really in the fall run right now. Expect it to last for a couple more weeks. There's schools of adult bunker moving down the coast and also schools of peanut bunker. And generally, if you find the bait, you're gonna find the fish. The adult bunker are generally gonna have larger size fish on them, while the peanuts may have more small to medium size fish. Bluefish are pretty thin, but the stripers are thick and they're chewing good if you're able to find them. Blackfish season just opened up. I always like it when the temperatures start to drop, so I expect the blackfishing to improve probably towards the end of October as it gets a little cooler. I know next week it's looking like the weather's going to be really warm, which I think is going to be great for the striper fishing, and I expect this fall run fishing to last quite a while. Using small lures like the Shimano high pitch walk and small soft plastics are going to produce really well this time of year.
Now let's head up the river and check in with Rowan Lytle.
Howdy everybody. So coming out of this very, autumn-like cold spell into a much warmer weekend, and that is probably a good thing for those of you that can only fish on the weekends, because that means the activity level in the Connecticut River should increase. Now, we're still not seeing much rain. The Connecticut River has come up very marginally over the last week or so with a little bit of rain to the north, but overall it's still low and clear, and that certainly plays into the fishing. Finesse presentations are still kind of going to be the way to go for a lot of species, but there's still a lot of shad around dumping out, so a lot of fish are likely to aggressively feed on that. However, that warm weather, I anticipate bringing some good activity. Expect your pike and your bass to get pretty fired up again and be a little more aggressive than they were during these sort of cold fronty conditions that we've had. So hopefully a good uptick in activity and good fishing in the Connecticut River through the weekend.
Now let's head out of the river. We'll stop in Westbrook and check in with Matt Stone from Black Hall Outfitters.
Morning everyone, Matt here from Black Hall Outfitters in Westbrook with this week's fishing report. It is blackfish season. Really good start to the blackfish season locally. I've fished it twice so far. A lot of guys have been in and out of the shop talking about it. A lot of really good fish, very shallow, which is super fun. I haven't gone deeper than 25 feet personally, and I know most guys are concentrating around there. Though I did have a friend land a 10.3 pounder from, much deeper than that, about double, triple that. So there's big fish, there's good fish around. Early in the season, you're definitely going to pick through some shorts. You're going to pick through some cunner, some micro sea bass, some micro tog, some porgy. Just kind of that's kind of the lay of the land early on here. But it's only going to get better typically as this water temp continues to drop. The tog will continue to chew. For now, I definitely recommend focusing on literally anywhere there's 15 feet. Rocks or jetty or whatever, and a little bit of current. It's worth checking. Give it 10 minutes to build a bite. If you don't get anything, move 10 yards down the rocks or whatever you're going to do. Move to another spot. But definitely don't disregard shallow water this time of year. It's also just a blast to fish for them in shallow water. Really fun fish to fight in shallow water, and it's quick to rebait, you know, that whole thing. Stripers, I have not heard a ton about fall run style blitzes out there. The weird year continues on that front. You probably see a few kicking around when you're out there blackfishing, but sea bass, there's been some giants caught really shallow. I caught my biggest sea bass in a year and a half in 17 feet of water last week. It was very confusing, but hey, we'll take it, right? Porgy, they're still out there. Guys are still catching them. We're still selling sandworms and the like for them, so definitely still worth it. Yeah, that's the report. Some great weather coming up. We don't get many awesome weather days. We have our Togtober tournament here at Black Hall Outfitters starting tomorrow, Thursday, the 17th, running through Sunday, the 20th. Really excited about that. Great weather for that. And we're just really thankful for all the folks who signed up and looking forward to an awesome tournament. So happy blackfishing season. Get out there and pull in a few bulldogs out of the boulders.
Now, in addition to the bottom fishing, which has been very good for tog, we're also seeing lots of sea bass. And that bite seems to get better and better as we move from the center of the sound and toward the west. In that western central sound, we're seeing a lot of sea bass coming up in the blackfish catches. A lot of guys targeting sea bass in some deeper water, going out 80 feet or so. The deeper ends of those reefs, so all the southwest reef and all that stuff, are really putting out some good numbers of fish and good numbers of tog as well. There's still plenty of porgies in the area too, so you can really put together a great catch of bottom species if you really kind of focus your efforts on that. The thing that's going to make that hard is there's a lot of striped bass around the area, and if you head a little bit closer to New York and maybe a little further west, you got a good chance of finding some albies and a really good chance of finding some bonito. Just very good fishing in that central western sound right now, regardless of what species you want to chase. As we get further west, the striped bass activity gets a little bit more exciting. We're finding some sea bass in some of those deeper wrecks. And the blackfish bite has been better than what I would have expected in the western sound so far. For a little bit more on that, we're going to get our first look at Max Finch as a dad. Here he is, Max Finch from Fisherman's World. Take it away.
Hey everyone, Max here from Fisherman's World with another local fishing report. I just want to let you know that we're running a tournament each week. The biggest blackfish weighed in will receive a Fisherman's World gift card to the shop. This week we've seen a leader of 8.8 pounds, which is awesome. We had a lot of 4s, 5s, 7s weighed in. So remember each week to bring a new customer, or it could be the same person to keep getting the same blackfish. We weigh it in. You can weigh it in alive. A lot of the guys like to keep it alive in a bucket. We'll weigh it in. They'll walk across the street since we're right on the harbor and release it, which is awesome. So 8.8 is the leader. Next week I want to see something bigger. If not, it doesn't matter. It can be a 7, can still be the winner because it resets each week. Locally the fishing's really great. We got blackfish shallow, we got blackfish deep. Guys are doing good on the wrecks, guys are doing good shallow. Shallow, I would say you got to pick them through a lot more. You got a lot more shorts, some nicer fish though, but you still got porgies, croakers, and even stripers with these crabs. So you got to build the bite up and just sit on a spot for a while to get that bite going. And you'll notice sometimes certain points of the tide, the blackfish will definitely chew better. I've always found, sitting on a spot, the slower part of the tide definitely is the bigger fish zone. The bite tends to slow down, but the quality of fish tend to go up. Locally, we're getting on this big full moon right now. I think it's tomorrow or the day after, but the diamond jig and bite's gonna, blow open in my belief. It already is really good right now. So places like 11B, 28C, Greens Ledge, Middle Ground, all in the outgoing, these places will really produce some really good diamond jig and bites. On this moon, I would, suggest on the slower part of the tides, 47s, then bump it up to 67s, 87s, so on when the tide's really pumping. Porgies, guys are still getting them from the beaches. They're starting to slow down a little because the temps are starting to drop, but the boat guys are doing well, really, still. So, you know, clam chum, help them bring to your boat. You know, shallow water and deep water. If you're on these deep water wrecks, you can find some knothead sea bass mixed in. Those sea bass will start getting shallower as these temps start cooling. A lot of guys start picking them up while blackfishing and actually, you know, plugging for stripers around the island shallow with like small X-wraps and stuff to pick up these knothead sea bass. Albies, locally, they're still so-so. I would still check south of the islands, places like Hakini Shoals, Green's Ledge, the Hump, and then our deep reef, 28C, Eaton's Neck, Smithtown Bay, Sherwood Island, but it definitely remains really good to our east. So middle ground, east and middle ground, mid-sound, and then on the south side of the north shore of Long Island, you know, Mount Sinai, Port Jeff, all those beaches tend to always hold, you know, really good albie bites because they have a lot of, you know, they have sand, warmer water, and a lot of small bait get washed out of all these outflows like Flax Pond and Port Jeff. Thanks, good luck.
And that's what I have for you guys in the reports this week. Hopefully it's going to inspire you to get out there. Blackfishing is firing on all cylinders. That's what I would target if I had to just target one species this week. But if you're looking for stripers, I'd go up in the estuaries. Give that a try. If you're not a subscriber to The Fisherman, I highly recommend you head to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You're going to get a full taste of what we offer. We cover all the fishing from Delaware up to Maine. We cover all angling disciplines, whether you're a fly guy, a surf guy, a freshwater guy, whether you're, you got quadruple outboards and you're heading out to the canyons. We cover it all. It's $30 for a year, $29.95. You're going to get 12 paper magazines sent to your house. You're also going to get 26 digital editions sent to your email every week during the season. And in addition to that, you're going to get digital access to all of our back issues, and you're going to get digital access to our other 2 editions. So if you sign up for the New England edition, which is the one that I take care of, you're also going to get digital access to the Long Island Metro edition and the New Jersey Delaware edition. I mean, how can you go wrong? That's 3 magazines for $30 and all the back issues plus the best reports in the game. But if you're still not interested, which would be hard to believe after looking at that, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing right there so you get a notification every time we post something new. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.